When we look at Tennessee and where they are right now, what does this mean for the overall athletic department? Because I would argue that this athletic department is as hot as anybody in the nation. They just come off a baseball championship that's bigger than it used to be. If we're having this conversation 10 years ago, whoopity doo, but it's bigger than it used to be. They have a Lady Vol team that is up and down the court, exciting. And they have a basketball team that might be better than last year. And they made a run to the Elite Eight. Now, obviously, that's all icing on the cake. Football is playing for a national championship in the playoffs. I can remember being but a young fella and walking around after Tennessee won the national championship in 1998. So at the time, we had Jerry Green doing Jerry Green things, which were exciting, even if they weren't great. And they made runs. They were fun to watch. I knew fundamentally that they had issues and that they weren't going to advance far in the tournament, but neither here nor there. It was fun to watch. And let's face it, the bar was much lower for men's basketball than it is now. You, of course, had Pat Summitt. I'm not suggesting that Kim Caldwell can even come close to Pat Summitt, but I am telling you that it's an exciting brand of basketball. And with the men's program, which I believe would have to be considered NCAA championship tournament medal, and you have the football program, this has been the best that Tennessee athletics has been, I would argue, since the late 90s, early 2000s. As a matter of fact, I would argue it's the best Tennessee's athletic department has been since those infamous numbers, 4 zeros, showed up in Atlanta, Georgia in the 2001 SEC championship game. I think Tennessee's at its highest since then. I can't go higher than that because you've got to have a national championship in your biggest sport, which is football. But Caleb, pretty heady stuff when you look at Tennessee's entire athletic department program.
I agree. So there's a rare moment for Tennessee. You're going to love this, Dave, because I just tracked it. There was a 1 week period where Tennessee hype was at its peak. You ready for this? And it was that 98 season you're talking about.
Yes.
All right. So after Tennessee beat UAB in football on November the 7th in 1998, I'm sure you covered that game.
Yes.
The most forgettable game of the 98 season. Mm-hmm. That following Monday, Tennessee debuted at number 1 in the AP poll because Michigan State had upset Ohio State. So Tennessee was number 1 in the AP poll. The basketball season was about to open that week. Tennessee was number 9 in preseason men's basketball. The Lady Vols were number 1 in preseason men's basketball and were 3-time defending national champions. Now, unfortunately, that magic didn't last because Jerry Green being Jerry Green, Tennessee basketball lost their opener that Friday to Arizona State by 1 point. And then that Saturday, Tennessee almost lost to Arkansas in football. But yeah, there was a 4-day period where they were number 1 in 2 separate. There was a 4-day period where they were number 1 in football, number 1 in women's basketball, and number 9 in men's basketball, and 3-time defending national champions in women's basketball at the same time. I think that's like the peak week of Tennessee athletics. But man, is this one close. So for those who don't know, and we're going to talk about this on the hardwood with John a little bit later, but they're number 1 in men's basketball. They're number 19 in women's basketball. They're in the top 10 in college football and in the college football playoff. And they are defending national champions in baseball. And so they are on a roll right now. And yeah, it's and that doesn't even get to all the lesser sports where they're succeeding at right now, which they're doing a lot in, like, if you care about this stuff, volleyball, tennis, soccer, like they're elite in like all these sports, guys. And so, look, this is a very exciting time because, and I don't know how you feel about this, Dave, but if I'm ranking the sports by importance, I'm going football, men's basketball, women's basketball, baseball, in that order.
Well, you're going by the revenue model.
Yes, I am.
Okay. So as a matter of fact, I put that poll question up. I'm most excited about men's hoops, women's hoops, baseball. I did not put football on there because I know it would have ran away with it. So those are your choices right now. Men's hoops, up at 80%. Yeah, I kind of expected men's hoops to be pretty good, not as good as Caleb. So I think I'm probably more excited about the future because I'm taking emotion out of it. The future of women's hoops, that I think they can actually win a championship with this style, and baseball, which has and will win another championship. So I'm a little surprised to see the voting so heavy on men's hoops.
I think there is hope that what's the one sport that has not held up its end? Men's hoops. Women's basketball, women's basketball, baseball, and football all have national championships to their resume. Men's basketball doesn't even have a Final Four. And I think many people are desperately hoping for Tennessee to get there. I think if Tennessee could win a national championship in men's basketball, they would join, I believe it's like Michigan State and like two other schools to have one in men's basketball, women's basketball, and football. So it's a very prestigious group to be a part of. This is a really good peak time. I don't think, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, Dave, I don't think it outweighs the November, December period of 1998, though. That's just when you're number one in football, you're three-time defending national champs in women's basketball, and you're top 10 in men's basketball. Even though you fell out of the top 10 pretty quickly because, again, Jerry Green's coaching cost them when they had a top 10 team. But I think that they did, to their credit, finish in the top 25. So they did have a strong finish to that season.
No, and listen, unless you have the football hardware, you can't be in that group, right? Because that's bigger than everything else.
That's bigger than everything else. That outweighs everything else by itself.
So, I mean, you could say, if you told me that Tennessee can win another championship in basketball, in baseball, and they would win two more in the women's game and the men's game, I'd say, oh, what'd they do in football? I mean, I hate to be hardcore about it, but that's just where you are. Just the same thing if you were at Duke and Duke's football team made the college football playoff, or let's say they made, just won the terrible ACC or something crazy happened. Their fans would still be like, so how's the basketball team looking? I mean, that's just the way teams are bred. Now, the fortunate part is that Tennessee is competent, more than competent, in football, which at the end of the day drives the train, right, Caleb?
Right, exactly. It is the engine in the car, and it's the battery in an electric car.
Yeah, and that does have a transmission that we discussed the other day.
Okay, whatever. It's the hard drive for a monitor.
It's a hard drive for a monitor. So you would not want a situation in which three of the sports were great. I remember it wasn't that long ago, guys, when it seemed like we were celebrating softball championships and softball runs. Come on.
I mean, I don't think that's desperation, though. Like, I know Alabama fans that heavily follow their softball team, even though they've been having a run in football for the past 15 years. Like, yeah,
I know Alabama fans that shoot their own kin when Alabama loses to Auburn. So yeah, there's a lot that could be said about Alabama.
Okay, no, they just poison oak trees. Okay,
is that what they do?
Yes, and they call them to the Feinbaum show and tell them that they did it, and then when they get arrested for it, like, I didn't do it. I may have said I did it, but I didn't do it. Harvey Updike, I'm talking about, guys.
I know. That's still one of the most bizarre things ever. But this is give me another couple of what's exquisite moments in Tennessee sports history. I mean, obviously you have that 98 period. Are there any others? If you went in your time machine, went back in time. It's brought to you by Dynasty Pools and Spas. Stop by in their Athens location, and at Dynasty Pools and Spas, you just tell them, I want a free gift from Off the Hook Sports. And they'll hook you up with a t-shirt or a book, which would be awesome. I'd love for you to give that a read. Tell me what you think. And you can get $500 off any spa you choose if you decide to do so. Dynasty Pools and Spas, the high water mark in Tennessee athletic department history. What's the professor got coming up next on Off the Hook Sports? Dave Hooker here for Dynasty Pools and Spas, your home for the best spas and everything you need to jump right in. Relaxing, therapeutic, absolutely. But what sets Dynasty Pools and Spas apart from others is that you get everything with any spa purchase. You get the cover lift, the steps, delivery, and chemicals. When Dynasty Pools and Spas delivers your spa from their Athens location within 125 miles, you'll get your own personal hydrotherapy spa. Mention me, Dave Hooker, or Off the Hook Sports, and get $500 off your top quality new spa. Dynasty Pools and Spas, just off the Athens exit. Drop in and receive a free gift from Off the Hook Sports, Dynasty Pools and Spas. Mention Off the Hook Sports for a drop-in prize and that $500 discount, Dynasty Pools and Spas. To check out some of the Dynasty Spa models and to buy spa chemicals, go to dynastypoolsandspas.com. Dynasty Pools and Spas. Okay, so the poll question is this. I'm most excited about men's hoops, 77%, women's hoops, 13%, baseball, 10%. All right, rank along with football the teams most likely to win a national championship. Here's my ranking. I will say baseball. I will say football. I will say men's hoops and then women's hoops. And no shot at Kim Caldwell. I haven't seen enough yet, but I do like what she's doing. And I think she'll have them in contention. And I think she'll have them as the type of program that's knocking on the door. Do they ever bust in? I'm not sure about that unless they get just a special couple of scores from the outside. But men's hoops, I think they have been knocking on the door. So do they bust it in? Baseball, obviously, they've won a championship, and I wouldn't be surprised if they did so again. Football, I do believe that Josh Heupel, before it's all said and done, is going to win a championship at the University of Tennessee. There's very little doubt in my mind.
See, I'm going to put men's basketball first because I think you'll agree with me on this, Dave. Baseball versus basketball, neither is on football's level, but basketball more than baseball, the better team's likelier to win in the NCAA tournament, right?
Yes.
Tennessee's got the best team in college basketball this year. I just tell you guys that right up front. They have the best team in college basketball.
Ouch.
Strong.
If
you're watching them, they have the best team in college basketball. That doesn't mean they'll win it all, but they are better than anybody they're going to face. And I think it's when you combine experience, chemistry, maturity, and just raw talent, they're the best team in basketball. So I think basketball is actually the most likely to win it all first. Even though baseball will probably have the best team, it's just too much of a crapshoot with that NCAA tournament. It's one of the most gimmicky NCAA tournaments in the history of NCAA tournaments. You shouldn't have a 64-team field like in baseball. It's just ridiculous.
I know, it's a lot. And they're going to expand that puppy to 128 before Quincy celebrates his second birthday. That thing's going to be 128. Would you take that bet?
Oh, I'll take that bet. I actually will take that bet.
More money, baby. More money.